All right, Aditi is with us now. Hello, Aditi. How are you?
How was the Patriots
Morning,
player?
my friends. How are you? Wait, I'm
Good.
sorry. I just talked over you.
How was the Patriots player last week?
The Patriots player? Oh, on the phone.
She remember she got off.
Remember,
Oh,
I
yeah,
was
that's right.
on y'all because I don't even remember. I think it was Christian Barmore that I was talking to, who's a great story, by the way. They found blood clot. Do you guys know who Christian Barmore is?
I know his name, but I don't know his story.
I don't know his story.
Okay, so defensive lineman. He is the highest ever paid Patriots player, not named Tom Brady. Got the biggest contract extension ever given to anyone other than Tom Brady by the Patriots in the spring. And then all of a sudden during camp, he was just getting really unnecessarily or oddly exhausted. And he shouldn't have been that tired. It was weird. He goes to the trainers, and the trainers discover that his right calf is way bigger than his left calf. He didn't even notice that. And what it was is that there were blood clots, and the blood clots had traveled all the way up into his lungs and were trying to get at his heart. But because he has such a big heart, the heart was sort of repelling these blood clots. But basically, he's been working his way back from these life-threatening blood clots, and he's now played 2 games. So anyway, so I was talking to him about his first game back and how he feels and the journey and all of that. So yes, thank you for remembering, Tyvis. It was a great story. Fortunately, not a great story for the Patriots in Miami.
That
What'd
is
you
a
say?
good story. I said it's a good job out of Tyvis because we had no clue what he was talking about when he first asked me that.
Tyvis
she
pays
was like
attention to me.
she was
Unlike
like the
anybody
Patriots
else
player.
in my life, at least he listens to me.
Yeah, he did.
I want to ask an educational story. When like this is a cultural question. What do you cook for Thanksgiving? Do you have like a traditional dish that you cook every Thanksgiving, or do you guys do traditional Thanksgiving?
No, well, we're a mixed family because my husband and my son eat, as my daughter calls them, murdered animals, but my daughter and I don't. So we will, I think Matt will handle the turkey, and I will do all of the traditional sides that my son wants and that my daughter will eat too, but not like green bean casserole and mashed potatoes, but I mean something with green beans, something with butternut squash, something with Brussels sprouts. But the main dish for my daughter and I, you can make a vegetarian stuffing.
Okay.
But I don't know, you know what? The truth is I don't know how much my son is into stuffing, so we may not. We have a neighbor across the street who does a massive goose and turkey and a Southwestern stuffing and all that. So she shares her food. With Nico and Matt, with my son and my husband. Yeah. But Kaya this year has asked for the main dish to be a lasagna that I make. Last year, the main dish for us was an eggplant parm. Yeah.
Oh, so you
but then all
up.
the sides you expect.
I like that.
Yeah.
We are having a really weird Thanksgiving. We have some friends, some family friends coming, and we're getting ribs and cornbread from Sweet Pork Wilson.
Okay.
Woo! We're getting fried chicken from Giant Eagle, the most underrated fried chicken out there.
Oh, by the way, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm getting some points back.
Wait a minute.
Yes,
Let's go.
Underrated.
No, Bull lost because he said he don't like wings.
I do like wings. I just don't like them as much as other people do.
Yeah.
It's not. But
Giant Eagle.
Anyway, and then Liz is making. Then we're having some traditional, Thanksgiving sides. But
but see, here's
turkey.
the thing. I think Thanksgiving, yes, it's about like eating and the bounty of the feast. But does it really matter what the feast is? Like if you don't love mashed potatoes, why do you have to have mashed potatoes on the table?
You shouldn't.
And if you prefer fried chicken to turkey, then why can't you just have the fried chicken instead of the turkey?
A lot of
why
times
are people telling us what we have to eat on any given day?
There's been a lot of years we've done prime rib because I love prime rib.
We are now. Bull used to tell me that, and we are now morphing. In the black community, like they take your card if you don't have certain sides and dishes.
Well,
but
what don't you have?
We don't got macaroni and cheese.
I'm about to walk off the set. Get off me. Get off me. Get off me.
I didn't mean to.
Now you shouldn't even lay it off with that.
Oh my
You should have slid that in somewhere else.
Even I'm having macaroni and cheese.
I apologize. I'm going through some stuff. Please.
You know what's so awful? I can make an unbelievable mac and cheese from scratch. Like the whole thing, real cheese, real fresh. I can even like squeeze in pureed butternut squash or something that makes it like extra healthy. And it'll be so good and so gooey. And my daughter likes that fake processed Kraft mac and cheese.
Easy Mac?
The Easy Mac. Oh my gosh, gee, she likes the Easy Mac, which is even worse than the Kraft mac and cheese.
My daughter is the same way.
What is that powder? What is that powder? It's got to be Kraft. Like there's something in that powder.
It's awful.
Oh, I know.
But
it's
kids,
awful.
all kids, I mean, most kids are like that. That's not uncommon.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I will say this though, Bull, and you know my kids are actually great eaters. I'm very lucky. There's an Indian dish that I make that's total comfort food. I don't know what to call it other than like a healthy porridge. It's basically yellow lentils, brown rice, and a ton of vegetables. It goes in the Instapot and it's like a porridge. It's the healthiest thing that you can eat. My kids both love it. Yesterday, my son says to me, he goes, it's called khichdi. My son says to me, Mommy, I think you should make khichdi because it's probably time we ate something healthy. Because when Mommy's gone on the weekends.
You got some good kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Mommy's gone on the weekends,
that.
they're eating pizza. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And eating pork.
By the way, last food thing. I make actually an Indian meal.
What you do?
Really?
What?
Chicken tikka masala.
Ooh, Matt loves chicken tikka masala.
I was expecting Aditi to say that's too mainstream.
Is that too mainstream?
No, not at all. I mean, if again, this is one of those things. If you love it, then who cares how many people eat it, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely. It's basically a very spicy. Everything, all Indian food is spicy, pretty much, right? I mean, it can be. It just you really can adjust the spice on anything. That's true.
I think that's one of those misnomers. You know, it doesn't have to be super
spicy food. It cannot be spicy enough for him. We had a team party at Buffalo Wild Wings.
He got the Reapers, didn't he?
He got the Reaper wings. He and only two other teammates out of 60 people there was him and two other kids were the only ones to try it, and he had no problem. But then he accidentally touched his face. And so his face was on fire. Yeah. He had no problem eating it. But then when he touched his face.
I had the Reapers, and as soon as
I've had that happen with my eyes. Like accidentally chopping, let's say, peppers, and then you like get something in your eye. You know who else loves Indian food? Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. We talked about this at training camp this year.
Man, you know what? You mentioned that, Aditi. I'm so sad, like, the JOK, like, him being hurt, like, because we haven't really heard anything about JOK.
That's scary.
And, Hicks came out and said, he was saying some things. Have you heard anything about JOK, anything behind the scenes? Because the language was saying that, like, we're not trying to start anything, but, anytime you have spinal cord injuries and you're having trouble moving and doing things like that, it's a little scary.
Truthfully, I don't know. And I'll be really honest, I haven't even asked. But you're right about, like another one who is one of my favorites. I'm sure in Cleveland was a favorite, Anthony Walker. I saw him this weekend. I was so pumped. I had a great story to tell about how he's coaching high school football with his dad. He's moved right into the bedroom that he lived in when his dad was raising him. And then he got hurt in this game. And I got really scared because it was non-contact, that it might be an Achilles, but the Dolphins told us it was a hamstring. So hopefully it's not brutal. But speaking of Browns linebackers that we love, I don't. It just injuries in general are so tough, especially when it's someone that you really pull for, and someone that's already worked really hard to come back from something.
Aditi, yesterday I wasn't on the show yesterday, but apparently J&G feels that the Browns should just offer Jameis an extension right now.
I didn't say today.
They were at
Bull told me that you said
they shouldn't be negotiating right now.
You said 3-year deal now.
I would give them 2 in the player.
Jay said that what if the Raiders offered him 3 years, $45 million? I said there's no chance on earth the Raiders or anybody else is offering Jameis 3 years, $45 million. What are you buying and selling on this conversation, Aditi?
Yeah, no, I don't think that the Raiders are coming to get Jameis, and I don't think that the Browns should be committing long-term to Jameis.
When you say long-term, what is long-term for you?
I mean, you don't think 3 years is long term?
Two in a possible, like voidable years.
Playing spades.
Two in a possible. like I'm not saying marry him, Aditi. I'm just saying give him a promise ring. Like you're my college.
I mean,
boyfriend.
what's your goal, G? Are you trying to be a Super Bowl team, or are you just like, hey, we just want to get out there and play some
Well,
games?
I don't know where these quarterbacks is coming from. We look at the list of free agency and it's none there. We look. Hey, the Browns are scheduled to pick 8th, so we're not going to get no top quarterbacks in this draft. I said it to people before. I said, okay, well, you didn't like how Ford was looking. If you move on from Jameis Winston, all likelihood, where are you going back to? Ford.
But my thought is,
Yeah.
Aditi, there's an in-between here. Let's see how the rest of the season goes. If James plays well the rest of the season, and in the offseason, you look at the landscape and say, hey, I don't think we have a better option at the position. Well, I got 2 months between the end of the year and free agency to re-sign him if I need to maybe a 1-year deal with a possible second year that the Browns can get out of. That's what I do, but I just don't see the rush in signing him right now.
Agreed. 100%. I agree with you. Why be in a rush right now? This is not one of those young guys you want to lock up before he suddenly gets more expensive. Let's see how the rest of the season goes. Let's see how you feel about him and where he can take your team and if he's the right fit for you, and then make a decision, exactly as you're saying. There's no urgency. You're sort of manufacturing a deadline by suggesting it has to happen right now. And also, you don't know who's going to come available, right? What if, I don't know, what if Justin Fields is suddenly available?
Go Bucks.
How do you not know that Justin Fields' ceiling is not higher? That he can't give you more?
Fields. I like Justin Fields. Are you saying?
Yeah, I like him a lot too.
Y'all gonna get rid of him?
He's a free agent.
He's a free agent. He's a free agent. Who knows? We don't know yet. I mean, look, I think it's totally within the realm of possibility that Justin Fields goes back to being the Steelers starter. This Steelers offense has a lot of warts that have kind of been covered up over the last few weeks because of Chris Boswell, their kicker, who's as money as they come, and because of this defense. But they've been absolutely horrific in the red zone. Russell Wilson, once again, is taking terrible, terrible, terrible sacks. And they had a stretch of quarters where they had not scored a touchdown that matched the Jacksonville Jaguars. So if you're a team that is looking to really make noise in the playoffs, something that the Steelers have not been able to do for 7 years now, you really need to assess what's giving your offense the best chance. And obviously, Justin Fields was being played within certain parameters. He was being constrained. He followed what was asked of him, never did anything more. But that team felt that he was getting better every single week. They were able to put more and more on his table every week. Then Russell Wilson became healthy. Mike Tomlin had promised him the starting spot. Mike Tomlin very smartly said, how can I keep a guy on the bench when I don't know what I actually have in him? He puts Russell Wilson in. His first half is horrible. His second half of play is great. The Steelers have been able to string together wins, But if you look at their offensive performance over the last few weeks, they're not setting anybody on fire. I mean, they're really not. And Dan Orlovsky took heat for saying after that Ravens game that the Steelers can't win, however he said it, I'm paraphrasing him, but he essentially said it's not sustainable to win by only kicking field goals. And people gave him heat because, of course, that is exactly how they had just beaten the Baltimore Ravens.
Right.
Sure, you can do that. But you can't do that all season long. You can't do that against the Bills and the Chiefs in the playoffs. You're going to need to score touchdowns at some point. You're at some point going to need to be more efficient in the red zone. And if you're not getting that right now, and if your quarterback continues to take really, really bad sacks, you've got to assess again. You've got to either fix that problem, solve that in some way, or if you really like the guy that was getting better every week, who you're kind of trying to insert as a gadget guy because you know he brings a level of dynamism to your offense that you otherwise don't have, and he openly admits that that's his job, that's what he has to do. But of course, it's hard when you're standing on the bench or standing on the sideline, freezing cold, to suddenly come in. You know, he had this, I'm sorry to say it to Cleveland fans, it's a terrible reminder, of course, but he had that 30-yard run Thursday night where he was like, I should have run for a touchdown, but to be perfectly honest, my legs were a little bit cold. Well, duh, because he hadn't been playing, So anyway, my point in all of this is maybe Russell Wilson finishes the season and Justin Fields walks as a free agent and he comes back to the state of Ohio and he's suddenly available.
Go Bucks.
Maybe not, whatever. But for UG right now to say that there will be no quarterbacks on the market, look, nobody thought Sam Darnold was anything. Where does Sam Darnold have the Vikings now? I'll be honest, I'm not a huge believer in Daniel Jones, but maybe Daniel Jones gets some better coaching or gets a better fit or goes to an organization that does something for him, and his second act is a little bit better. Just like Geno Smith's second act was a little bit better. Just like Sam Darnold's third act. Just like Baker Mayfield.
I will say this to your point, Aditi.
They do it.
Yes, Sam Darnold's playing better.
They do it.
Here's the bottom line. And if I'm wrong,
that's another guy. Sam Darnold will be available next year too.
I'll tell you what,
we can't afford him.
I'll tell you what. First of all, the Vikings will lose in the first round of the playoffs. Mark my words.
To who?
Who doesn't matter because they won't have good enough quarterback play when it matters.
Wow.
The Steelers will, of course, as they always do, lose in the first round of the playoffs because whichever quarterback they play, neither of them is good enough, and neither of them will play well in the playoffs.
Whoa.
That's just, Justin Fields is not a starting quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion.
Says who?
Not a quality starting quarterback.
Seems like one to me.
He can't read defenses. I don't know. I mean, I just think
he hasn't. But listen,
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Sam Darnold said to us,
please.
Okay, Sam Darnold said to us 2 weeks ago. We had the Vikings 2 weeks ago, and Sam Darnold, of course, started his career with the Jets. Then he went to the Panthers. Then he spent a year with the 49ers. He said the way that he was taught to look at coverages with Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, he had never been taught that or shown that before. He gave us a list of things that Kyle Shanahan taught him and that Kevin O'Connell is teaching him that in his entire career he had never been given. So yes, I openly said that coming in, Justin Fields didn't seem to have great field vision. He didn't seem to be able to read defenses. But what exactly was he learning in Chicago? What was he being set up for? Caleb Williams isn't exactly setting the world on fire. Maybe some of this has to do with where he was and what was around him and what sort of teaching and development he was getting. And this is not just about Justin Fields or Caleb Williams or Sam Darnold in New Jersey. This is a problem in the National Football League. We keep talking about quarterback development and why we're not seeing quality quarterback play, and the answers keep coming back to maybe there's just not as much really good quarterback coaching as we would like. So for you to sit here and say Justin Fields can't do this, well, I guarantee you Arthur Smith is the best coordinator he's been under, and he is right now with Mike Sullivan and with my God, I'm losing his name, with Tom Arth, with Zach Azani. Help me out. I can't keep every name, whatever. But with with the Steelers coaching staff, what he's getting in that quarterback room right now is better than anything he has ever been exposed to in his entire career, college or professional. So who knows what his ceiling is? Now, do I think he's a savant like Joe Burrow? No. I don't. That doesn't mean he can't be an extremely serviceable. I mean, when you talk about Joe Burrow, you're talking about three guys, right? You're talking about Patrick Mahomes, who will probably go down as the greatest quarterback ever, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. All right? Justin Herbert. Okay? So there are five guys right
I don't put Herbert in that category. For me, I don't. I don't put Herbert.
Do you put Tua in that category? Because let me tell you, Tua looked really good this past
I like
week.
Tua. I think he's in that next category with Herbert, with C.J. Stroud. And maybe
go Bucks.
I mean, some of these guys have to win too. Some of them you need to sit here and say until you do it in crunch time. Do you feel more strongly about Joe Burrow because he's won in the playoffs more than Lamar has? It's a fair argument or conversation to have.
Yeah, Aditi, you bring up great points. I agree. Even though I'm very just the nature of what I do for a living and who I am. Like, when I believe something, I'm like, it's over, that's it. Now, I'll admit when I'm wrong. Listen, Baker playing way better than I ever thought he would. Way better. I still don't think you could ultimately win big with him because he's going to turn the ball over too much, which has been a problem for Jameis, too, in his career. And Baker's, I believe, since he came into the league, is 1 or 2 in turnovers, he and Jared Goff. Now, Goff's gotten better at that. Baker had been a little better early in the season. and then more recently his turnovers have popped up. But I will say that, like, yeah, the game seems to be trend. Like, I felt like until a couple of years ago there's been a stretch where you had to have an elite quarterback to win, right? And then more time goes by, the more that, like, the passing game's going down a little bit, defense and running are coming up a little bit. Now you can win maybe with a second-tier quarterback or a top third-tier quarterback. We're not to the point where you can win with Trent Dilfer and a great defense at that level, but, like, I just think there's still a certain level of quarterback. I've been seeing, like, Jay's been on this soapbox about, oh, well, it's all about the running back now. And I saw this completely ludicrous tweet from somebody that covers the NFL, I forgot who it was, today, who said, look at Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Josh Jacobs. They're 1, 2, and 3 in rushing, and look at their teams. They're great. And the teams they left now stink. Well, that's disingenuous because the teams they were all on last year with those guys all sucked. And the teams that they're on now were good without them last year. I'm not saying Saquon Barkley doesn't make the Eagles better, but you have not had a great running back on a Super Bowl champion in as long as I can remember. So until it's proven that I could win with a great running back instead of a great quarterback and just marginal quarterback play, I'm going to assume that a guy like Justin Fields or Russell Wilson or Sam Darnold is not going to be able to win a Super Bowl until I see it.
I mean, I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it was
but
very long.
No. I hear what you're saying, but I'll go back, and I know I shared this conversation with you. And it's funny because I meant to actually tell Tua this weekend. A year ago, we were meeting with Bill Belichick, and the Patriots were getting ready to play the Dolphins. And I asked him, what's sort of the greatest piece of development or growth that you've seen in Tua? How is Tua different? How is facing Tua different now than earlier? And he actually compared Tua to Tom Brady. And what Belichick said, what Belichick said is that no quarterback ever gets yards. It's the guy that the quarterback gets the ball to that gets the yards. And he said Brady never had any yards. What he said, he compared it to a point guard. And he says, if your money from the baseline 3, why would I feed you a 3 at the top of the key? I'm going to feed you when you're on the baseline. And then you're going to hit that 3 for me. And so he said what Brady did better than anybody, and what he felt Tua was doing, is finding the right guy in the right spot at the right time more than anybody else. Hitting who you are supposed to hit where that person is money, and doing it at a greater rate than anyone else can. He was essentially saying game manager is not a dirty word. If you are heady, if you know time and situation, if you know how to handle the clock, if you know exactly where you need to go with the ball when, well, isn't that what Brock Purdy is? Isn't that in some ways what Tua is? When you think about Tom Brady, did he have the biggest arm? Did he have the fastest legs? Was he the most elusive guy? He just always knew the right guy to get the ball to in the right position. So in that argument, you're kind of saying, well, I don't know about the second tier, which to you is the Tuas and the Brock Purdys of the world.
No, I believe those guys could win. I believe that tier could win now. I don't think the next tier could win.
Okay.
I don't think the Justin Fields and the Sam Darnolds can win. I don't. Not this.
So here's what I'm saying, though, is how do we not know that with quality coaching that Justin Fields can't get to that tier? I'm not saying I don't think Justin Fields is ever getting to Patrick Mahomes. I don't think Justin Fields is ever getting to Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow. Right. But who's to say that Justin Fields, who is genuinely really, really smart and who genuinely works really hard and who genuinely really wants it, can't get to a Brock Purdy?
I think that's fair.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying maybe we shouldn't write him off until they actually have some real coaching.
That's a good, fair point.
Aditi, I want to ask you this last question. Now, obviously, it's this big thing about Team Dome and Team Not Dome. When you watch that Thursday night game and you seen this team, the elements play a part in it and they have fun playing in the snow, did it change your opinion, whether you were a Dome or not a Dome? Did this game affect how you felt about the Browns getting
let me tell you this. I am so glad that is not a decision I have to make. I am so glad that I am not a taxpayer in that state where I really need to have a dog in this fight. I completely understand rationally and logically when Andrew Berry says that these are men, not racehorses. We should give them the best elements to perform in. I understand that. I understand as business people that a dome is way more efficient, that you could bring in so many more events, that you can build a whole development around that dome, that you can bring in so much more revenue and taxpayer money to the entire state, to the region. You can attract more. I get all of that. You could bring a Super Bowl to Cleveland. Like, that's all amazing. But my heart, can you look at this? Like, how amazing is this to see these guys playing in these elements, to have to draw the line markers in between every series, to have people doing snow angels and throwing snowballs. Like, it's just cool. It's really, really cool. And it speaks to a different level of toughness when you get to play in elements like this.